Welcome to this episode of the Experience Project. Today we are talking about clothing and something that you could spend a minimal amount of money on, something you can spend a pile of money on. I'm going to walk through kind of what my priorities are as far as when I'm making my decisions, things I've learned throughout the years, some of the specific pieces that I'm taking, just considerations to make. I think one thing I want to start off with is solid colors versus camouflage. You notice just about everything I have out here is solid colors versus this is Canis camouflage. In my opinion, camouflage is 98% marketing and 10% effectiveness. Sure, camo in the field could potentially help you, but if I had a list of 100 things that are going to matter, it's 100th on that list. I have been hunting in solid colors for a long time, 15 to 20 years, and never once have I ever felt like I didn't kill an animal because I didn't have camouflage on. I think, when you've got your, what I do is mix and match a little bit. So I'll have brown pants and a green shirt or a gray shirt. Then you got your backpack on. You're basically breaking up your outline. And it frankly just, I don't know, I think it's overrated. I have a very specific, I was in the Frank Church wilderness on a sheep hunt. I was by myself. I was wearing a blue Patagonia sun hoodie. That thing is awesome, and when it's really hot, it happened to be like 85, 90 degrees on this hunt. And I was heading up this ridge, and I'm hiking, glassing, and I look up and there's a raghorn bull elk coming down at me 30 yards away. He kind of catches my movement. I catch, about the same time we kind of catch eyes, and I just stood still. I'm wearing this blue shirt. He looks at me, puts his head down, walks 10 yards closer. He's probably at 20 yards now, looks at me again, puts his head down, and proceeds to walk by me at 3 yards. To me, if I had a cameraman behind me and I was wearing the latest and greatest camouflage, that company would say, aha, proof that our camouflage is the best one out there. As long as you're not moving, the animals just don't tend to react to you. And I don't care if they catch movement and you're wearing camouflage or solid colors, that's when you're going to get busted. So you just got to be really cognizant of, when the animal can see you, don't move. That's my opinion on camouflage. Take it or leave it. I just don't think it matters. And one thing that does is free you up to the whole market of clothing options that are out there. You can go to Walmart and buy some brown Wrangler pants, buy some, green shirts, whatever, and go hunt. You don't need to go spend a lot of money on super expensive hunting companies' camouflage clothing. I think clothing, we always obsess about the weight of our sleeping bag, the weight of our pad, the weight of our tent, the weight of all these items in our pack. Very few times do people really pay attention to comparing two puffy jackets and what's the weight between the two. A lot of times clothing companies don't list that weight, which is frustrating, or they list it for size small or medium, and you don't know what extra large weighs, but you can kind of start figuring that out if you pay attention over time. But clothing is definitely an area where I could have everything I need and have it be 5 pounds for a hunt, or that could easily be 10 pounds or more if you're not paying attention to the weights and trying to, you obviously want to get the best performance to the weight ratio that you can. Starting out, socks, these are just ankle height sock that I can run when I'm running, any of my kind of low top hiking shoes, mids that I wear. I really like these. It's actually a great area to save weight. If I'm running a mid shoe or just a regular trail running shoe, which I often hunt with, 3 of these or 4 of these versus 4 like full socks, there's ounces of difference there. So I do encourage you to go buy a scale. You can jump on Amazon, buy a good scale for 15 to 20 bucks, and just start weighing items and paying attention to that. Weight matters when we're out there in the backcountry. Having a lighter pack makes you a more effective hunter. Obviously, you need to balance that with, if you go too light and you don't have all the things you need, then that's not good either. But just paying attention, weighing items, and start getting an understanding of what things weigh, and it helps you make more informed gear decisions, especially when it comes to clothing. So Darn Tough socks, I really like. Go back to our footwear episode where I talk more about socks, but have if you haven't done a bunch of training hikes in the footwear that you're choosing for that hunt, have some different thicknesses of socks. They've got lightweight, midweight, heavyweight. They usually refer to that as cushion, so light cushion, mid cushion, heavy cushion. Darn Tough does that anyways. And that gives you an idea of the volume of the sock. So it'll take up space inside the boot. Mark was just out here last week. We did a training hike and I had some new boots he was trying and his foot was sliding around on the inside. All he needed was a little bit thicker sock and would have completely transformed how that boot felt for him. Underwear. Underwear may seem simple, but obviously you want to pay attention to hiking, chafing, things like that. And one of the key things that I've found when it comes to backpack hunting is how the waistband is constructed. You don't want this to, when it's on your body, to roll over and create a pressure point right here. You want a good waistband that will hold up. The only way to do that is through trial and error. Get some underwear, go hiking, see how they perform for you. For me, these are just some Adidas ones that I have like 30 pairs of those. Buy them on Amazon and they work great for me. I don't need anything more or less. They're cheap and have been fantastic. Next, moving into long johns. So my system, when it's, let's say if it's above mid 40s and higher, I'm not packing long johns. If the low temperature is below that, so into the 30s, then I am packing long johns. I prefer to have a thin, lightweight, breathable pant, especially when you're talking September, October here in the West in Idaho. You can have, 25-degree mornings, but still be 60 degrees in the afternoon. When it's hot, I want a light, thin, breathable pant. Another benefit of the pant is also it's going to dry faster when it's wet. If it's thinner, it's going to dry quicker. So I do pack long johns more often than that because most of the times the lows are 40 or lower. This is a company called BRYNJE, B-R-Y-N-J-E. Everybody makes fun of me because these are actually, it's a fishnet to it. These are incredibly light, incredibly functional. They kind of act almost like down in that they create an air gap between your body and your pant leg. So think of your pant as the shell of a sleeping bag and this acting as the down. It's just filling air gaps on the inside of there. It breathes really, really well, dries quick. When your pants are soaking wet, the mesh, because there's not that much surface contact in your skin, you actually don't feel it. I'm a big fan of these. There's lots of other merino long johns, cotton long johns, polyester long johns on the market. Find what works for you. These are just ones that I happen to use and really, really like. These are the merino wool version of the BRYNJE long johns. So, moving up, basically you got your base layers. Depending on, I've got a few different options here that I'll run throughout the year. This is, it's called Icebreaker Everyday. It's merino wool. What I typically am running this is late season when I need an extra layer. So if it's, it's going to be single digits to the highs in the 30s, I'll take this and run it as a third layer. So this will be next to skin. I used to run this in hot weather as well, but then I started running synthetic sun hoodies. So this is from Kuhl, K-U-H-L is the company. I believe it's called the Air Cool, K-U-H-L hoodie. And it's been fantastic. When it's hot outside, when it gets 60, 70 degrees, the fabric breathes really well. It keeps the sun off your skin, keeps you cooler. Seems counterintuitive when it's hot to wear long sleeves and a hood, but even this time of year, it's been 100+ degrees every day here in Boise. I've been doing a lot of training hikes. I'm wearing a sun hoodie when I go out there hiking on those 100-degree days. Keeping the sun off of you is way more critical than basically running around without your shirt on, something like that, because your skin's going to heat up and that's going to make you be hotter. I also really, really like having the hood from a hunting perspective. When it's hot, obviously keeping the sun off your ears and neck is great, but also from a bug perspective. Plenty of early season archery mule deer hunts, stalk in on a buck and you just got flies buzzing around. I love to put that hood on and it just kind of keeps them off of you. It's not quite as annoying. So big fan of basically just Google sun hoodies. There's piles of options out there. Really like this cool Air Cool hoodie. I've been using, this is the second one I had. It is a polyester. I had one for about 4 years and it finally got to that point where the second you start sweating, it has that kind of odor to it. I couldn't wash it out, so I eventually just bought another one and threw that one away. When it's colder, so if the temps are, this is kind of my 40 degree and up temperatures. When when the temp's going to be, you know, again, that single digits up to 40 or 50 for the high. Then I switch to a merino wool. This is from Canis gear. It's a really high quality merino wool, same deal. It's got a hood on it with a quarter zip to kind of come down and get some ventilation if it is hot in the afternoon. I really like the merino wool for the colder temperatures. So again, there's just depending on the forecast, I'll pack one of those others as a base layer. Getting up to mid layers, this is another one from Canis. I really like a grid fleece, something that's going to be lightweight. A mid layer can be 10 ounces or 18 ounces, depending on what you pick. Like merino wool as a mid isn't a great choice in my opinion, because to get thick enough to be a mid layer, it's quite a bit heavier than say a synthetic would be. This is kind of a hybrid. It's got some synthetic nylon as well as merino in it, which is a good choice. Really like this piece. We've also, we'll get into here in a second, but we're a company called Outdoor Vitals out of Utah. We've actually been working on a project the last 2 years with them to do our own kind of core system that we basically have our fingerprints on, helping design this, like specific to our application of lightweight backcountry hunting through the kind of variety of seasons that we see. So starting with, these are the pair of pants that we've been developing with Outdoor Vitals. As far as pants go, again, I want lightweight, thin, breathable, dry quickly. Nylon has been my preferred choice of fabric that I've found. You obviously want some good stretch and you want good fit to the pants. You want to be able to step over a log and not have binding at the hips and the crotch area. Prana Stretch Zion has been a pant that's been obviously designed by a yoga company, but there are thousands and thousands of hunters across the West running Prana Zion pants. They've been fantastic, but there's a couple little things that you kind of wanted to cater more towards the hunting community that we need. One of those would just be hip vents. So on these Outdoor Vitals pants we've been developing, we've got good hip vents. So when it is hot, you can open that up, dump a bunch of heat out. Just good functional pockets at your hips, just to be able to get things in and out of it. The most critical aspect of all pants, and one area that I don't understand why every single hunting company doesn't do this. It's as if they never wear a backpack and understand that you're wearing a backpack 99% of the time. You have to have an integrated hip belt, a way to cinch up the belt, cinch up the pants, keep them on your hips without wearing a real belt. The last thing I want to do is, when it comes to fitting and wearing a pack all day long, is have a thick leather belt in there. That's going to create rubbing, it's going to create pinch points, it's going to be very uncomfortable. You might be able to get away with it when you just got your 30, 40 pounds, but the second you go to a 100-pound load and you really have to get that belt tight, that foam is grabbing onto your hips as tight as possible. Anything in between it, even going back to the band of your underwear, that's not nice and flush and seamless, lowest profile as possible, is just going to create discomfort. So having a built-in belt was absolutely critical, something that was, again, an absolute must in these pants. Very simple adjustment. This webbing runs all the way through the pant, so as you tighten it up, it actually tightens up the entire pant, and you simply just snug it up and fold over that little cam lock. It's not going anywhere. As your pants stretch, as that belt stretches over the course of a hunt, you can just snug it up. If you're just relying on the pant to do that, they're going to stretch, they're going to start falling down your butt. It's going to be annoying. If you have a pair of pants that don't have a built-in belt to them, then a couple options. One, I found cordage works really well in a pinch. 550 cord, parachute cord, things like that. You know, tie a loop on one end, throw it through the belt loops, cinch it up, do a little half hitch, you're good to go. I should probably make this product and just sell it through EXO. This is a belt I made. I had some pants that I wanted. Barney's out of Alaska had some pants I used one year, and they did not have a built-in belt. Again, blows my mind. But this is a belt I made out of real thin, lightweight webbing, and then a cam lock similar to what we used on the pant. So I guess as I'm doing this video, maybe we'll make this product. If you need it, reach out to us. But just pay attention. You don't want a thick, heavy belt on your pants. You want that basically built into the pant so it stays up for you. Moving on. So basically, we've got socks, underwear, long johns, base layer, mid layer, pants. Next layer is going to be a puffy jacket. We've been developing this with Outdoor Vitals as well. So you're looking at essentially the goal, the sketched out on a piece of napkin was 16 ounces, as much down as we can cram in there as possible. And we've achieved that basically. This thing's incredibly warm. I've ran lighter weight puffies in that like 12 ounce range. And then there was kind of this weird, awkward, do I pack a bigger, heavier puffy, or do I go with a lightweight one when the so often we're in that shoulder season temperatures where say 20 to 40 degrees where you could kind of go either way. Maybe be a little bit colder, but you'd save some weight, or you go with the heavier jacket. So I felt like there was two ends of the spectrum and there wasn't a good middle. And that was the goal to develop with this puffy jacket with Outdoor Vitals. So you got a 16 ounce jacket. I can't remember the exact spec on the amount of downfill in here, but we crammed as much in there as we possibly can. Just a great lightweight jacket, just everything you need and nothing you don't, not overrun with pockets, things like that. This is it's a welded construction on the inside, I believe is the correct term. So there's no stitching to create the baffles for the down, which also, there's no holes. So water is going to slide off this easier. There's no holes for air if it's windy for the air to pass through and get into the jacket to kind of lose heat that way. It's been awesome. The Outdoor Vital stuff, as a quick note, we're on year 2 of prototyping with this. The goal is for it to come out next spring. It'll be through their website, through Outdoor Vitals. There'll probably be a link through Exo Mountain Gear, but it's through their website as we're going to go to purchase this stuff if you're interested. I'm sure we'll have lots more information to come on that as things develop further. But this year we'll be testing pretty much as close to final prototypes as possible on the pants, jacket. There is a mid layer. I actually forgot to bring it today. That is super light, super warm, versatile as well that we'll have. So. Moving on from there, basically we'll start kind of out here in the front. You've got gloves and beanie. Gloves, rag wool gloves, cheap, incredibly warm. These have been my go-to for a lot of years. I've got this kind of thinner pair, and this is a thicker thinsulate pair that I run if it gets real cold. They're absolutely fantastic. If you're someone who suffers from cold hands, go get a rag wool merino glove. You won't regret it. Again, cheap. Should be like 15 bucks a pair, something like that. I have 5-6 pairs of these laying around the house. Something that I've started doing more and more of, even on say a hotter day, is not using a glove to keep my hands warm, but using gloves to grab onto things to navigate tricky, rough terrain. The best ones I've found, these are from Mechanics Wear. It's called the Fast Fit glove. I really like these. This is like I had one pair. I loved them so much I bought 2. So this is the second of the pair of that second set that I haven't even used yet. Still got the tags on it, but just awesome lightweight gloves. If I'm rifle strapped to the pack, bow strapped to the pack, and I got to climb 3,000 feet. This kind of actually started in Kodiak where you just needed your hands to grab on to bushes and stuff like that and alders to pull yourself up the mountain, or when you're coming down so you don't end up falling on your butt. I really like running gloves a lot. Running trekking poles, it's nice so you're not getting blisters on your hands. Highly encourage you to look at those. Beanie, very simple. I don't automatically default to throwing a beanie in. I prefer to have a hood with every basically top that I bring along with me, so I've got that option to keep my head warm. But if the temps are freezing and below, then I will pack a beanie. This is minus 33 Merino Wool Company, super lightweight beanie, stretchy. Obviously there's not a lot with a beanie, just it keeps your head warm. Head tends to, there's a lot of sweat, and rain is obviously the first thing to do is going to hit the top of your head. So Merino Wool is a good choice for a fabric there. Going into rain gear, this is some Kuiu Chugach stuff, and this part of the experience project here is we're going to be running 4 different sets of rain gear. We've got Kuiu, Sitka, Canis, and I bought from Rab, is a kind of an outdoor backpacking clothing company. I bought a set of Gore-Tex rain gear from those guys to kind of give a comparison. It's a little bit cheaper, kind of give an option of, all right, here's the real expensive stuff, here's a cheaper option. We're just going to go out there and test it in the fall, in the field this fall, and see how it performs. Moving on to, if I get into late season options here, puffy gloves. These are puffy gloves from First Light. If you're sitting and glassing and it's freezing and below, these things are incredible. They're just like, I think they're 3, maybe 4 ounces tops. They fold up into nothing. You throw them in your lid. I suffer at times from real cold hands when I'm out there in the field. I absolutely love having puffy gloves. Invaluable tool for really cold temps on a hunt. If it's an active elk hunt where I'm not going to be sitting and glassing a lot, maybe I take them, maybe I don't. A mule deer hunt, anything where you know you're going to be sitting for multiple hours glassing, they are absolutely invaluable to have. And then you move into puffy pants as well. These are some prototypes from Outdoor Vitals we're working on with those guys. And this is probably a future, this is a couple years down the road. This is the very first sample I've received from them. First Light, basically everybody's making some version of puffy pants these days. Same as the gloves when it's real cold and you're gonna sit there a long time and glass, they are invaluable. One thing I'm gonna try this year is I've used, so my go-to sleeping system is a Katabatic 22 degree quilt. And I can take that into single temperatures by sleeping in puffy pants, by sleeping in my down jacket and my layers and socks. One thing I'm gonna try this year is, it's gonna add a little bit of weight to the system, but I also have a 30 degree Enlightened equipment quilt that I've had for years. I'm gonna take that with the puffy pants. And so on the real cold nights, I'll be able to put the puffy pants on and sleep in that 30 degree quilt and stay nice and warm. And also just have the puffy pants for the times when we're sitting around glassing and it's cold outside. So it's something I'm gonna try. Again, it's gonna add, I haven't done the exact calculation, probably 5 to 6 ounces to my system to go from the 22 degree quilt and no puffy pants to the 30 degree quilt and puffy pants. But anytime we can add versatility to what's in your backpack, that's always a good thing, as long as the weight penalty isn't too much. So something I'm gonna try this year. We'll report back on how that goes. Lastly, gaiters. I am not a lot of people just, if it's September, they throw like full on Gore-Tex gaiters on, even though it's dry outside, and I kind of chuckle a little bit. I hate wearing gaiters. Going back to the footwear episode, breathability, having your sock breathe, your boot breathe, keeping your feet dry is a really critical aspect of maintaining comfort in your feet. You don't want to just slap gaiters on when you don't need it, because they're just going to choke off the entire top of the boot. They usually cover the lower, the upper half of a boot and really make it so they don't breathe as well. And so just use gaiters when you need them. When I did my Doll sheep hunt, these are Catula gaiters, super lightweight Gore-Tex gaiter. They've got a zipper on one side. I ran these, and one thing that I did with these is instead of running the gaiter over the top of my pants, because if you're hunting in really wet conditions, you'll see this, that if your pant legs are completely soaking wet, that water is going to run down your pant leg, inside the gaiter, down into your sock, down into your shoes. When I did this hunt, we had a bunch of wet days. What I did was put my sock on, put my boot on, put the gaiter on, made sure that my sock was below the top of the gaiter so no moisture could wick down into it, and then I ran my pants over the top of the gaiters. That system worked incredibly well. My feet stayed dry the entire time. I had no issues at all. And these are incredibly lightweight compared to a big, heavy gaiter. These are Sea to Summit Gore-Tex gaiters. When if I'm hunting in deep snow, yes, I'm packing these. But if it's just rain that you're worried about, these are awesome. There's a little bit of consideration there when you talk about crossing creeks. But at the same time, what I liked about these gaiters is they've got a cinch up here at the top, and you can suck that nice and tight up against the ankle. So if you do got to jump across a creek, you could roll up your pant leg, jump across that real quick, and very, very minimal water is going to get down inside your shoe that way. That basically covers it. Very simple system. I've got my core kind of, all right, it's warm. I've got a base layer. I've got some thin pants. I've got a puffy jacket, lightweight gloves, things like that. And then as the seasons change, as the temperature forecast calls for a little bit colder, then I start adding in long johns and puffy gloves and puffy pants and gaiters and beanie and things like that. Rain gear, when you're talking about ultralight backpacking and saving weight, one thing we have nowadays, which I encourage everybody, is an in-reach. And so I have rain gear generally, if I'm in Idaho and I'm heading up on a trip, it's in my truck. but I'm also checking the weather forecast before I leave for a trip. And if it's not calling for excessive rain, where it says rain every day, 100% chance, if it's kind of, I'm heading in on Thursday and it says Saturday, there's a 30% chance of rain, I'm ditching the rain gear. I'm not packing that weight in there with me. So something to just, don't pack your fears. Don't be afraid to get a little wet. If you've got good clothing that dries quickly, you don't really have to worry about it. That's another tip. If it is going to rain, I just get in my thinnest layer. I'll get in my lightest wool thing and hike. Versus, I think a natural reaction is it's raining, I better put on stuff so I stay dry and warm. Well, once you get that, once you get your down jacket wet, it's going to be a lot harder to dry out. I'd rather be a little bit cold while I'm hiking in that thin layer, and then I'll just keep that like lightweight merino wool on, put my puffy jacket when I sit down to glass, and then my body heat is going to dry out that inside, dry that shirt out. So it's something to think about when you're out there hunting. Yeah, that's a pretty good summary of clothing that I'm packing with me on a hunt. Excited for more episodes to come here on the Experience Project. Stay tuned.